We good to start?
Yep.
Right, in which case we'll make a start. So, good afternoon. I think it's the last session by the keynote. So I hope everyone's got a little bit of energy left in the day. Have we put a slide on? Here we go. So I think I'm one slide ahead already before I get there. But basically the talk is on how AR is changing the face of self-service. And Todd and I are going to be sort of backward and forwarding from the deck and several devices. It's already come crashing down, so we've reinstalled everything on a different device already just the last 5 minutes. But yeah, we've set ourselves up for a good target here. So as we go through, I'll just explain a little bit about myself. I can't remember which laptop we're actually using now. Yeah, so I'm Justin Halfpenny. I'm CEO of Mobile Caddy, but prior to that, I was in manufacturing for a very long time and also construction. This is why the bags are here as well. But since then, we took a mobile requirement on and we created an engine called Mobile Caddy, which basically powers all sorts of different types of critical apps that need offline functionality. We are an official Salesforce ISV, and along with that, we also do a lot of app development on top of our platform, and we also create products alongside our platform that actually sit inside, so form managers and stuff like that. One of the things that we've got going through now is a project that's got a sort of internal handle called Product Caddy, which is around manufacturing self-service out in the field. And so we've been exploring ourselves this idea of what does self-service mean, how do we use the technology that we've got, and are those technologies ready? So this is definitely a business level talk, but we will be diving into some demo apps that Todd is building, and we just really want to uncover some of the things we've discovered as we've gone along and to see if AR is ready for prime time and is good for yourselves. So a little bit, you see we're sort of global users everywhere, and I think we're pushing up several tens of thousands above that now. I think I had one little transition. So yeah, why is self-service important? We had this tweet from Peter Coffey, who presented here 2 years ago, maybe? Yes. 2 years ago. And if anyone's seen Peter, he's always good to speak. But he tweeted this up, I think was 2018, yeah, which is basically saying, you know, we think of support. If you are contacted by your customer, at that point, you've really failed in your job to support your users. And we can see all different ways of tackling this. So for example, the Walk Me's in software, we all build our own help centers internally and so on and so forth, but very much a focus on software users. And we're really looking from our use case for people in the field, but that could still be a consumer use case. But that's really what it's centered in on. And I think Peter's always pretty spot on. And I think from the sentiment that he's got here, which is, you know, once you've failed that, you're already in a defensive mode. And so really service becomes part of how your product is seen as much as what it does. So let's have a quick look in the current state of self-service. I've got to make sure I drop a couple of things in here for Todd. So firstly, we've got the classic manuals, the Haynes manual. This is probably something that no one's actually worked on, but in Todd's case, I think you had a mini Haynes manual. And we've also got then transforming into bots across into the mobile world. But this is still, we've seen today actually with voice, I was in the earlier sessions, can still be quite frustrating. We're not quite there yet. And so this intermediate piece of lots of other information that I need to get hold of, we look at the bot here and then the comparison of the data that's in this manual, there's a big difference of what I'm going to do in terms of reference. So the general idea for us was, you know, how do we take the self-service that we're seeing from this transition and make it much more mobile friendly, much more user friendly through. So this is what we'd like to do. Most of them, I think, are fairly obvious. Always available in the pockets, any mobile device. We shouldn't tell people what to use. Information at our fingertips, that's where we get the context, the relevancy. And the one that we want to talk about a little bit today is the familiarity. So when we think about tech that we're going to take on, just because it's tech, are we actually forcing tech on people that they actually don't understand? And then guided paths. And so we're going to center everything around a use case, which is here, I think. Let's bring all these up if I can. So our use case that we're going to centre the talk on and just see how we've explored the technology that's available and the choices that we got around a broken PC. What would we want to do? But the use case could easily be wider than that, or in different particular products, but mainly around physical things, as you can imagine. We want to be able to access product info, guide through some steps, identify things. That was, I was speaking to you earlier at the back, where we were talking about maybe a manufacturing part that I'm trying to look at, or potentially a merchandiser who's trying to find items on a shelf or whatever. And then with the next best action, so can I do what I want to do after I've actually got that information? So let's see a demo of this without AR, just to see how frustrating. What's the world we live in today in terms of technology? So we're going to try and switch to our first of many devices. So the first thing is, this is the classic PDF support manual. So this is what we're giving our physical product users. It's pretty frustrating. I don't know if anyone's, I'd looked for my Canon camera the other day, and this is the experience that I got. And I'm using a £700-800 camera, and it's like, what's this all about? So I'm really, really struggling to find information. And even when I found it, it says go back to page 167 to do this next step. I'm like, what's this all about? Really, really frustrating. So the next step that we took, so this is where we were looking at exploring our product before we, so we're going to come into our use case, which is just a demo company called Brent. And inside here, this is just the manual represented on a mobile device. And we started to get the manual structure here. It's just got 2 items on, but it's all searchable. That's a big starter. And we wanted to take the first one down. So if we look in diagrams, the first thing we looked at is exploded diagrams. Could we give more information? So we were looking at visuals. And so in this case, an exploded diagram of our PC, a list of items that are in there to let me understand a little bit more, but still pretty frustrating. Oops, that's me, sorry. So the next step, we said, well, can we make the image interactive? What can we do once we have images down? And so I don't know if anyone's seen anything like this, but this is fairly prevalent in parts, locations, stuff like this. So what we're doing here is we're taking an image and we're basically enriching that image with overlay points. So if we tap on any list item now, you can see, we've started to bind information to the visuals. And why this is important is because before we get to AR is all very good and we can show an image, but you then need to do stuff with the image, which is why Salesforce, as we'll see, becomes important. So if we can, I think we're
your attention, please.
We're going to pause for a minute.
May I have your attention, please? The public address and fire alarm systems are about to be tested.
I'm glad I got it right in the intro this morning.
Please take no further action.
While we're doing that, if everyone get their browsers open on their phone, would be really handy.
The test is now complete. If you have difficulty
I think we're done here.
clearly hearing messages or fire alarm signals, please advise main reception. Thank you for your cooperation.
Can we switch back to the PC now? So with that, that's where we got to, and then we passed to Todd and said, right, we need to actually do something more with this image, more with this data. And so the next slide, I believe, have you got the clicker? Okay. I'm going to leave this man to chat for a second.
Okay, hello everyone, thank you. If you have the browsers open on your phones, if you could go to the address up there, that bit.ly/LC19AR demo, just slightly shorter than trailblazercommunitygroups.com, trying to help you out here. And then you'll have on your desks, I think, a little business card with a little image on it. It looks a bit like that. I don't know if you can point your phones to that. Hopefully you'll see some in-browser AR. I'd like to see hands up if you're seeing some in-browser AR. Hey, you got that? Maybe should I do it on should we do it on the phone as well?
Oh, we could do, couldn't we? Yeah.
Can you? Yeah, let's just do that now.
Back to the phone? Yeah. Oh, you might have to get me to a browser while you're talking through it. We switched phones earlier, and I've got no idea how his Android phone works. I can tap it in, are you? You good? If we can switch the Android phone then.
Do you want to hold that for me?
Yeah, sure.
So what we're seeing here is the capabilities of a standard web browser. This is same on your desktop as well. And this is a web version of AR. So this is using something called AR.js. And what we're able to do is using the marker image that's on the business card there, is use that as a tracking point. The browser knows this. And then we're rendering a nice 3D box and a spinning helix, and then mobile caddy loves learning calling, because we do. And I think this is a really neat way of saying AR, although it kind of seems way off, actually this is, your browser can do this right now. Right? No need to install anything fancy, and you've got it right here. I thought I'd just put that in because it's nice and easy, right? And it's pretty cool. So feel free to take these cards away and show people and point them through. I think that's pretty neat. Thanks. So we go back to the PC, please.
PC.
Did you want to take this bit, or?
We can take a stab at it together, can't we?
Okay. Yeah. So that was a real basic demo of augmented reality, and here's kind of a formal definition of what augmented reality is. But in our case, we're using the camera's output as our real life view, and then we're able to put computer generated graphics, be they kind of like little images or 3D shapes or WebGL or videos over the top of it, and that's giving us this kind of composite view of the world, which is the real life plus whatever's coming next. What's neat with devices is you can interact with touch. They could be marker based, like they were in the demo with the business card. It could be facial recognition, object recognition, image recognition, like QR codes or adverts in magazines and that kind of thing. It's it's out there already, and I love it.
Definitely. And I think from the business side, which is really where we're trying to come to without digging too much in the tech, is, we haven't put a lot of time into this. We've decided what the use case was. It's a strong use case. And then when we're starting to kick the technology, how available is it? And then probably what's coming up, what we'd like to show now is just, how familiar and how usable is it? Because it's all very well, if our end users are self-service users, they are not going to be trained. They are not going to potentially have the device we want. What do we got here? Oh, here we go. You're going to get me. Yeah. I'm going to move out the way over here.
Yeah, if I could ask you to stand over there a bit, Just. This is Pokemon Go, which, as part of my research, was something I'm now hooked on and need counselling. I think I can offload this now over to Just. Is that unloading? I'm in a safe location to do AR.
I feel safe.
Where's my little footprints? Where should I put them down there? Got to try and find a flat surface. There we go. Look at this. Hey, and there's Justin. I don't know what this is called. Connor, what's this called? Tortwig. This is a Tortwig. For anyone who needs help with their Pokemon, Connor Parkin is your man. But you can see this. So this is a consumer app, right? This is what kids and anyone's using, consumers are using, right? But we don't see this when we go to Quick Fit or, I don't know, Sainsbury's or whatever. This is just wicked. I love that. So that's the first of demos of this thing in the world. You look good there, Just. Can you stroke Tortwig?
I'm not into it. But
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
We won't touch Tortwig. Can we switch back to the laptop? Thank you. And then I've got, hopefully, these live demos. Hopefully this is going to play. Oh, man. That's a real pain. I'll tell you what, we can do this in here. I think I got this. Can we switch back to the phone? Sorry. Didn't sort out the videos.
Switch to live.
I know, switch to live. Yeah, ready, thank you. This is another app. So I found this when I was in France at a train station, and they have little short stories that you can print out and read while you're waiting for trains. And this is the Google Translate app, because I realized after I print it out, I can't really read French. And and this one was called Champion sur un malentendu, maybe. And with the live translate on, I could end up reading this story, right? That's champion on one misunderstanding. Oh, is it picking it up? Yeah, you get the gist, right? But it's doable. And that's something else that is already out there today. Obviously, it's a native app, but it's showing the power of how the things right in front of you can be adjusted. I think that's cool. Thanks. Yeah, if we can go back to the laptop, thank you. I don't know if we're going to see this one, are we? And then this is my favourite. I was in a Lego shop, and I've put a box of Lego up against a monitor. And on the screen in front of me, it had animated the little Lego scene. There's poor rebellion fighter being attacked by a TIE fighter. And it has like kind of sound and stuff. And this is, from a shopping experience, I mean, I knew I was going into the shop to buy something, and I definitely was, because it was Lego. But this kind of sealed the deal, and there was no going back. So I suppose here we're saying that all of these apps are out there and consumers are already using them. So now it's kind of, why aren't we using them as businesses? Because people are familiar with this kind of technology already without even knowing it, I think. And so how do we take on AR and Salesforce? Where do the two couple in? Obviously, we have the Einstein services. I say obviously, that's a bad thing to say as a presenter, isn't it? We do have Einstein services, image recognition, and object detection. In fact, last year at London's Calling, I did an offline mobile app that used image recognition to detect benign and malignant skin conditions. And so this was using the Einstein services for that. And obviously, part of that talk, I had to cater on the fact that there is limitations to using cloud-based services, and that's that connectivity is required. So something to consider when you're going forwards. And I might pass to Justin again now to talk about the platform pieces.
I think just to reiterate, because we want to get to a couple of other demos if we can, but to reiterate, the technology is great, and you can see the consumer, the familiarity, but when we're looking at a strong use case, we also got to think about the data. And that's where the platform comes in. It's great having all the Einstein stuff, but someone's got to sit there and structure and make sure the data actually exists in the platform. And so really for our use case, we've just been levering off that platform all the time. So this is all great, but it's always built on this really understood platform with these other services in. So I think, from a roadmap, where we got to is like, okay, this stuff's familiar. It is actually usable. In terms of price and development effort, you can see hopefully coming up. Then we started to prod and say, okay, do we need to go native, hybrid? Did we start looking at some of the technologies? What could we actually do without being a 100-person dev team? So I don't know if we're good to have an to put, go on. You can talk through these. Absolutely. Right, so we're on an iPad now. Todd will probably keep switching until I get something wrong. So here we are. Standard iPad. Todd, this is a native application, isn't it? This one. Oh, he's got no mic on. So this is our native application. And so we would decide, what could we actually do? And in terms of, what we're seeing in terms of recognition, is it actually going to recognise anyone? This is a bit worrying, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, just look at the speed of this, and we'll ask Todd in a minute the dev effort that went in, but straight away in terms of things being able to be recognised, if we've got that, and of course it does have to know what it is, and you're labelling it, that's where the platform comes in, but this is not up here anymore. It's about here for us. Todd, give us a little lowdown on how easy, how hard.
Yeah, so this was probably like, I don't know, a few hours with some existing source code, right? But it's a native iOS app, and I'm not an iOS dev. And this kind of thing is, like, it's definitely in reach. If you've got a team of people who know what they're doing, then this stuff is definitely there. This is using, so where we were talking about the limitation with Salesforce cloud services, this is using an internal library to do recognition. And you can see that it's done all kinds of tracking here. And the power of the native layer here is it's got really advanced kind of plane detection, so it knows where things are, so you can shift things around on the screen. Yeah, I mean, that's just cool, right? Love it.
Cool.
Love it. And then to show that it's not just iOS, and if you go through, I'm going to jump back to the Android phone, if that's okay, Rico, and show you an Android version. Now, this is, in fact, I'll let Justin talk through the use case, because
Yeah, we're getting closer to our actual use case now. So as we're digging around, we're like, yeah, this is possible. And so hopefully what we can do, if you have a use case coming up, you could save yourself some legwork here and, look at what we did and maybe, choose your own path. But what we're actually going to do is assume that we're inside a PC, keep our PC story going through again, and we're going to attempt to see if we can recognize elements in that, and are we actually now increasing and bettering the self-service experience. And pretty much, there we go. Although we're not rotating on the screen. I don't know if you can. No, the rotate's not kicking in. That's okay. You get the gist. This is actually the presentation, not the app. It won't ring. But yeah, so we're actually picking up parts in a machine. And the idea is not to say this is new. The idea is to say this is actually doable. This is not a big stretch. And so, obviously, we have our own application framework to build mobile apps, but there's loads of different ways of approaching the mobile app. The platform's already powerful. You've got all the data structure. So with a good, strong use case, straight away now, because we're binding the data together, the overlay, we could now go into a user guide, a user flow. This is how to repair something, get to the end, then maybe contact support if it's a problem, locate a part, order a part, because we're binding, we've actually got a strong use case. And although we'll have a laugh about Todd's skin demo last year, it was the first time I'd actually seen iStyle with actually a decent use case, not here is a cat or this is a dog. It was a real use case. And I think this is what we're seeing now. The business, there is a use case here, the technology is available, it's affordable, and it's also familiar to the users. How are we doing, Todd? I think we've spotted everything we can. And anything else to add on the Android?
And not really, I don't think so. So that was using, the app itself had been authenticated into Salesforce to get the parts listing through. It was using the native layer to do the detection of the part, but then it was requesting information about that part from the platform. So it says, it's basically sending up an ID and saying, tell me about this, here's the name for it. As Justin said, the power of the platform is going to then be able to tell me, here's how you raise it. Here's a button to raise a case, or I can find my nearest delivery distributor potentially, or actually, here are the steps to replace this. Right? Don't undo those screws, Todd, because you're going to electrocute yourself. Or make sure you turn it off before you undo those screws. And here's how you remove it. I think that's
if we could switch back to the main deck on the laptop. Oh, has he gone to sleep? Yeah. There we go. Great. We're skimming through to the demos, and so yeah, just a summary. I don't want to run over time just in case there are any questions, but basically, if we can pass some learnings on and vice versa, the main things to think about is you probably don't own your users like we would do with our employees, and that changes on its head. So where Todd's been looking at native, so specific apps for Android and iOS, for us, we definitely go down a hybrid approach because we just want one code base, because we know we've got to support multiple OSs. So the community users there, the capabilities that you need to bring, make sure you get the use case. I mean, I think there's been some good sessions on this today. I think Barry Beard did a session on architecture earlier, he was telling me, and definitely, center your use case in and then work out what you actually need from the tech rather than jumping in through. And I think from a journey perspective, if you understand, if the customers aren't going to use this, don't bother spending all the money, because it's still a cost. But if the use case is strong enough, like the self-serve, like that type of thing where you need guided help, the OSs and the tech is definitely available. I think that sort of summarises our journey today. Hopefully next year we can actually show you the finished the finished product that we end up with. But that's been our journey so far. Anything to add, Todd?
I suppose really, the fact that the tech is there, it is within grasp, and going back to the fact that the end users already have this sort of stuff on their phone. They're already using this kind of in their daily life, and it's there, and we should exploit it, I think. Yeah, they won't be surprised. I hope not. Like, we live in a 3D world. We should be used to kind of looking around things and stuff. So, yeah, I believe that's it.
Perfect. Yeah, and we've got a list of resources coming up. I think just quickly with the so the last thing we were going to say to Peter Coffey is that's it. Hopefully we'll stop that contact point. It's a lot about customer experience, and you might have seen. I think it's all the CX stuff is all being waved as a big flag. Of course, this is part of it. If your use case is strong enough, yeah, we're definitely a couple of minutes shy of time. So
yeah. Here's a few resources. That obviously links will be out. One of note really is the second to bottom one. The London developer group. We had a guy called Simon Cook from Salesforce come in and did an amazing AR demo. That's on our Salesforce developer user group in London's YouTube, but I'll ping the links out. And also, if you're interested in repairing your Millennium Falcon, you can buy the Haynes manual there on Amazon as well. Yeah. Any questions, please? Thank you. No, everyone's bamboozled. Look at me go. Who are these guys? Oh, in that case, thank you very much indeed. Cheers.